Hello and welcome to the Property Unleashed podcast with me, Mark Fitzgerald. And today I am delighted to have a friend of mine joining us. Adam Al-Khatib has been involved in sustainability for the last 10 years. He has graduated with first-class honors in energy and environmental engineering. He specializes in electric transport, solar energy, and energy efficiency buildings. Adam, who was on the PIN Mastermind and is a graduate of that, is the founder of AAL Property Solutions. The business prides itself on being a sustainable business, and AAL Property Solutions helps landlords, homeowners, and letting agents with services including energy efficiency in buildings and EPCs. It's fantastic to have you with me today, Adam. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Mark. It's a pleasure to come on and have a chat with you today.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Well, I think with the environment changing, obviously, we all want to do our bit for the environment and sustainability. And I think the price hike in utilities, this episode is going to be real gold for people and landlords and anybody wanting to get involved in property that wants to obviously cost save, but also help the environment as well. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please, mate?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the introduction. As you've already mentioned, I guess my sort of sustainability journey started around 10 years ago when I went into the education system. So I was always interested in sort of engineering and the environment and things like that. I went to uni and I obviously studied energy engineering. And that really formed the foundation of my knowledge in this area. I was studying things like renewable energy, solar energy, wind energy, and all the other technologies that we hear of today. And then I also learned a wee bit more about energy efficiency in buildings and just how to become more environmentally friendly. So I really enjoyed it. That's kind of formed the foundation of what I do today. That was a 4-year course and graduated 2017, I believe. And then I wanted to continue on with my studies. I stayed on to do a master's degree, but the master's degree was very targeted at the real estate sector, so the property sector. And so basically I did a master's degree in property, but it was more the sustainability side of property. So I really targeted that area, that industry. And so sustainability can be applied to many different industries, all industries. But I chose to apply it in the real estate industry. And there's many reasons for this. It's one of the industries which is not very sustainable. And it can sort of, a lot of changes can be made to improve that. There's a lot that can be done. So I chose to sort of target, focus in this area. And so the master's degree was really good. I sort of laser focused into sort of how we can make energy buildings more energy efficient, and this sort of all ties into energy ratings and things like that. So I looked. So when I did my research, which was a part of my master's, it was the rising influence of sustainability in the private rented housing sector. And the reason I chose to target this sector in my research was the private rented sector is the lowest, is the least energy efficient in the whole of the UK. So this is a sector which could be improved the most. And obviously this affects landlords, it affects tenants and things like that. So it's quite relevant today. So this is certainly the sector which needs the biggest amount of improvement. So that's kind of where my research was based in my master's. I graduated from that in 2018. Thoroughly enjoyed all my studies, and it just gave me a good platform. And I was always involved in sustainability activities outside of education. In my personal life, I was always involved in always involved in sort of environmental projects, sustainability projects in a wide range of areas, charity, personal life, events, projects, lots of things like that. I'm still heavily involved in lots of projects and charities today. So after uni, I went and got some work experience, worked with the various companies. And then as you said, I went on to the Property Mastermind program, just to get some business skills and to sort of expand my network. I really enjoyed that. It kind of taught me a lot it taught me a lot of the things I was looking to learn in terms of like business experience, and I met some fantastic people. The best part for me was sort of the network and the community that was there, and I'm still in touch with a lot of them today, including yourself, which is great. And during the pandemic, took I took the decision to sort of set up AL Property Solutions. So just based from the knowledge from university and some work experience and business experience, I just chose to sort of set up AL Property Solutions with the aim to support others, to help others, and really just to raise awareness of sustainability in general. Really, I just wanted to be able to help others and just sort of raise awareness about these things, because I felt I was in a position to do so. I felt I was in a position to sort of help people with the environmental issues and the sustainability issues just from my experience and my education. So yeah, so since the last few years, since the start of the pandemic, I set up AL Property Solutions. We help landlords, letting agents and homeowners with energy efficiency, energy performance, and this obviously includes the energy ratings and things like that. We offer a variety of other services as well, sort of compliance, health and safety, to comply with all your lettings regulations. But obviously our main sort of thing that we're pushing is the sustainability and the energy services, because that's kind of our foundation. So that's a wee bit about me. I'm happy to sort of go into more detail about anything I've mentioned, but yeah, that's a wee introduction. Thank you.
That's great. I mean, like you say, we did Mastermind together. You were on Mastermind 27 with me, and I think, you know, moving forward in the future, of course, is all the knowledge and the training and everything that you've already have, but you've got a different route. Obviously, with COVID coming in and everything, you've set up a business in sustainability, which is a massive thing at the moment and a very, very important topic for everybody. And you know, you're working with letting agents now. You've built a business quite quickly, haven't you? Over the COVID times, you're working with a lot of agents now and stuff. And I mean, for yourself, I know you, because but the listeners obviously don't. How satisfying is it when you know that you've gone there, you've offered your advice, and potentially people are making a few changes that just helps the environment? You know what I mean? As much as helping them save money or anything like that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. It's really nice to know that you're helping. That it's really nice to know that I can help other people. I can add value to their lives in this area, and it's just nice to know that I've kind of chosen my own path. This is the path that I wanted to take, and this is where I felt I could help people the most. Because in life, sometimes we don't always choose the path we want to. We sometimes choose the path we think we need to take. But when you just sort of have a think about it, just do what you actually enjoy doing. And I've always enjoyed this area, the environment and sustainability. I've always enjoyed it, and I said to myself, this is what I want to do, and this is where I want to make a difference. So that decision just kind of makes it even more rewarding. I'm able to sort of use my knowledge and experience to help other people. And as a person, I believe that no business or no individual is perfect. We don't know all the answers, but all we can really do is give it our best shot and do our best whenever possible. So I will always help and support and advise to the best of my ability. And if I don't know the answer, I'll just say, and I'll point people into the right direction, because it's not about being perfect. It's about being honest, transparent, and helpful, I believe.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I suppose things change all the time. So going on to the property side of things, if you were maybe setting up a rent to rent, or you were looking at just, you know, letting properties out as a buy to let and things, what are things you'd recommend right here and now from the very beginning to get into place that could be, you know, saving you a fortune in the long run when it comes to making the house energy efficient, thinking about the future, thinking about the EPCs, obviously at different standards as well?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. Well, the first thing that you should maybe consider if you are buying a new property, or if you're going to rent a new property or whatever, is you need to understand the condition. So usually when we go into a property, we're looking to sort of purchase or rent. We're just looking at the internal features and the location, but we don't actually think about its energy usage. We're not thinking about those things yet. I think in future we will start to take those on board a lot more seriously. But the first point of call is to have a look at its energy efficiency, because that can give you an identification of what work needs done, what can be improved. It can also let you know if it's going to be very expensive to run, if it's going to be cheap to run. So the best starting point is to have a look at the energy performance certificate, because that's the key document which the government is using to judge each and every property in the UK. So there's lots of factors that determines on. There's lots of factors which can determine on whether a property is sustainable. There's so many, but just to keep things simple, the EPC is the document which the government is using to identify how energy efficient that property is. So the best starting point is to have a look at that document, because the EPC it's actually a legal document. So it's a legal document and it's publicly available. So you can have a check. Any property you're looking to buy or you're looking to rent, or rent to rent, for example, have a look at the EPC document. It has a lot of information on there. It'll tell you when the last assessment was done. It'll tell you the energy efficiency rating. It'll tell you what improvements can be made. It gives you a lot of information. So any decision that you're looking to make, I would suggest having a look at that key document is really, really important. It will give you a wealth of information which will help your decision-making process.
Going forward, obviously, I mean, there's going to be some properties out there that when these EPC ratings go up, they're just not going to be able to get them to that standard because for whatever reason, they may be very, very old and things like, what do you think, being, the specialist that you are in the area, what do you think when it comes to those sort of older properties? Do you think people can do, or do you think the government's going to have to maybe just be lenient with a few different properties that are built in certain areas and things?
Yeah. That's a very good question. In my personal view, I believe most properties will be able to meet a certain target. Most properties will have no problem achieving a certain target. Whether in Scotland, the government are pushing for a C in the next couple of years, and in England this might be slightly different, but I'm sure it'll catch up to that eventually. But generally speaking, a lot of properties will be able to meet that target, and it might cost. There might be some. Obviously, there's going to be a cost involved, but believe it or not, it doesn't actually take that much to move up a band, to move from one rating to another rating, and sometimes it just takes one measure to do that. Whether it's adding some more insulation or having a look at the heating, and whatever money you're going to put into the property, you're going to get that back one way or another. You're going to get it back when you sell it. It's going to obviously be more attractive, or when you're renting, you're going to get maybe a higher rent. So whatever money you put, whatever money you put into the property, whether you're adding something like a new heating system, you're going to get that back one day. You shouldn't really think of spending it. It's like more of an investment, because you're going to get that back one way or another. But going back to the question, yes, of course, there are some properties which will find it really, it'll be quite difficult to meet a certain standard, and because maybe its location or because of how old it is. And there are exemptions in place. The government have set out various exemptions. If it's going to be very impractical, if it's going to be very uneconomical, then there are certain exemptions in place which will mean that you won't need to achieve that rating. So it's always worth checking if your property meets that criteria for the exemptions, and taking it from there. But the one thing is, just don't worry about it. Like you're either going to, if the property is going to struggle big time, there might be an exemption in place. So there's nothing to worry about on that side. And on the other side, if it's just gonna take one or two measures to improve your rating, then it's not always going to cost that much. And if it is, there's also a range of financial support throughout the UK these days, and it depends on your local authority. So it's always worthwhile getting in touch with them, because every council in the UK has different policies. So give your local authority a call and speak to them to see if there's any financial support. There's often, over the last couple of years, there's often been interest-free loans, which doesn't matter on your income. They're available to most homeowners and landlords. And depending on your income and your circumstances, there's sometimes grants that go about. But like I said, it's always worth getting in touch with your local authority and people in your local area, because they'll have that information available. So in summary, yes, there will be properties which will find it hard, but for the most case, for the vast majority, they will be able to meet a certain standard with just a few changes.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I know you're obviously a big advocate of this, and you live it yourself as well. So your day to day and in the house that you live in and things, it's quite eco-friendly. Do you want to just share with us what obviously what you're driving and how your heating and everything's set up there?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a firm believer. I believe it's important to practice what you preach. If you're preaching something, you should be practicing that as well. It just sort of shows that you're committed. It shows, it just adds more credibility to your message. And if it's something that you're truly passionate about, you should be doing it already. So in my house, it's pretty much almost 100% renewable, almost. We still import a little bit of electricity from the national grid, and the reason for that is our heating system is air source heat pump, and I'm pretty sure most people listening would have heard of a heat pump because they're becoming a lot more popular these days. So all of our heating demand in the house is coming from that heat pump, and it's heating the radiators, so it's heating the space inside the property, but it's also heating our hot water as well. And so just very briefly, how a heat pump works is it's taking the heat from outside and converting that to be, it's converting it so it can be used inside the property. So it's generating free heat. It uses a small amount of electricity to be able to do that. So a good example is it uses, let's say, 25% electricity to produce 75% of heat, which is free. So it's almost renewable. So it's very energy efficient because you're pretty much generating your heat for free. You're using a tiny bit of electricity. So that's the heating system covered. For our electricity, we have solar panels on the house, and solar panels have been along for a long time, and you probably see them on a lot of properties these days when you're driving past. They've been around for over 20 years, but they're becoming a lot more popular because the prices came down. So on our roof, south facing, we have a solar panel installation, and this is helping to meet the demand for electricity in the house. It's not going to cover the whole demand, but it's going to cover a part of that demand. So we've got the heating system coming from the heat pump, and we've got our electricity, some of the electricity coming from the solar panels. So what this means is we don't have gas at all. We don't have gas in the property at all because we don't need it. We have the air source heat pump, which runs off electricity, and we have the solar panels, which is providing electricity into the house. And the last point is with transport. The transport sector is changing completely. And I would argue the transport sector is connected to the real estate sector in many ways, because most of us drive cars and most of us park our cars at home. So it's almost, they're both connected, and we're always driving from one building to another building, for example. So the infrastructure is going to be connected somehow. And I drive an electric vehicle at the moment. So I park at my driveway, and I've got an electric charging point, which I'm sure most people have seen these days, installed in my back garden. And once I've finished my day, I just drive into my driveway, and I take the charging point off and plug it into my car. And the solar panels are actually helping to power the electric car just because of the way the system is connected. So it's all very much interlinked, everything in my home. So it's the electric vehicle, the solar panels, and the air source heat pump. These technologies have been around for a long time, and I believe they're going to become a lot more popular. Well, not popular, they're going to be seen in many more homes in the years ahead. So that's just a kind of the setup in my home at the moment.
So, I mean, if you were doing a refurbishment, let's say for argument's sake, and you were looking at having an HMO, maybe a 6-bed, 7-bed HMO, decent enough size, would the systems that you use, or in a roundabout way, obviously they'd probably be a bit bigger and stuff like that, but would they work well in HMOs? Because obviously with the way utility prices are going, a lot of people buy or get involved with HMOs for cash flow. But if you were going to, so to speak, gut one, take it back to brick and start again, would it be worth installing these things in now? It might cost you a bit more at the beginning because they are quite expensive at the moment, but in the long run, it's surely going to save you a fortune. But would it be adequate, do you think?
Yeah, so the first point is it really depends on what space is available. Space is a key factor when thinking about installing these things in a property. space is very important, because if you've not got the space, then it's not going to work at all. So the space is really important. So for example, in a HMO, if you've not got a suitable roof where you can put solar panels on, then it's not really going to work. And if it's not facing south, then it might not be economically feasible. It's the same if a HMO is on a main road, or if it's not really got any parking available, then a charging point might be quite difficult. And so space is a key factor when thinking about any of these things. However, if you do have the space available and the services available, then of course it's definitely worthwhile in the long run. It might be a wee bit of an investment to start off with. It might cost you a few £1,000s, but it's certainly going to pay back. It's going to pay back a lot quicker than you think it's going to do. And there's two benefits. One is economics. So as I've mentioned, you might be forking out a few £1,000s, which, like I mentioned earlier, there might be financial support to help you with that, because there is in most parts of the UK. But once you've made that initial investment, it's gonna have so many economic benefits, in the sense that the electricity, the energy demand for that property is going to be extremely lower. So you're going to save on the energy bills, whether it's the landlord or the tenant who pays. It's like that property in general. Whoever owns it, or whoever occupies it, the energy bills are going to be lower, because you're producing some of that energy on site. Also, there's evidence that suggests that these sort of factors are now being taken into consideration when determining the property prices. So sustainability issues are actually going to have an impact on price in the next few years, and this is already starting to happen. For a long time, location was the main thing that determined prices. However, the way things are going, these sort of technologies and these sustainability issues are going to be factored in when determining the price of a property. So not only are you going to save money on energy, you're also going to there's potential to increase the value of the property. And also, in terms of the environmental impact, of course, there's a great environmental impact as well, because it's reducing the amount of energy that you need. And when it comes to energy ratings in the future, you're going to score a very, very high energy rating with these sort of technologies for most of the time, and that's going to attract better tenants. It's going to attract buyers who want to buy that property. It's just going to become a more attractive property for all shareholders, and it's going to just help future-proof the property for the years ahead as well. So certainly there might be a wee bit of investment required at the start, but there's a variety of benefits that can be received in the future.
I think sometimes we can be a little bit narrow-minded and a bit caught up on the price and everything. Everybody wants to do everything as cheap as possible, and it's not always the most beneficial. Yeah, if you're going to flip something, then you want to try and keep the prices down. You want to obviously put a good product together, but you want to keep the prices down. But I think if you're looking at holding on to something right now with the way things are going, having renewable energy and sustainable living is massive. And I am actually myself surprised we don't see more and more people actually going down this route, because in the long run they could say, particularly now, you don't know what you don't know, but with the way the energy prices are going and things, you can fit your thermostats into places and stuff like that. But if you are, as you say, south facing, and you can stick a solar panels on the roof, the money that you will save in the long run is money in your back pocket, and it's also money that you can invest into more deals and building your portfolio a bit quicker, because your cash flow is going to be a bit higher. So that's really, really good. What else would you recommend then for people that are getting into property, or they've got the EPCs to have a little look at? They're going to be walking around doing viewings and stuff. Is there specific things that they should look out for when doing viewings that could potentially cost them a fortune in energy efficiency in the long run?
So yeah, that's a great question. So just to make it really simple, with regards to energy efficiency and EPC ratings, the two key factors are the heating system. What's heating the property? That's one of the main things to look out for. And the second thing is insulation. So let's keep things super simple. Insulation and heating are the two things you should look out for when you're viewing a property, or when you're selling, renting, anything. Those are the two things that make the biggest difference with regards to energy efficiency and energy ratings. So look, what type of heating system does it have? Does it have electric heaters? Does it have a gas boiler? So these are things that you should look out for, and also insulation. Does it have roof insulation? Does it have cavity wall insulation? Does it have floor insulation? And obviously, these things might not be visible when you're having a look at the property or viewing the property. But the place that you can find that out is on the EPC certificate. So have a look in advance when you're viewing a property at the EPC, like I mentioned earlier, and just check if it's got insulation, or if it's got any insulation in the property, or what heating system it has in place. And the reason for this is because these are the things that if you were to buy a property, or if you were to rent a property, these are the things that are going to be recommended in the years ahead. So you're going to be encouraged to do these anyway. So if you come across a property which has all of these things, then that's obviously great. You're not going to have to do anything more to it because it's already relatively energy efficient. So generally speaking, having a look to see if the property is well insulated, and having a look at the electricity system are the two key important things. For example, if it's a gas heating system, then it's going to be cheaper to run at the moment. So that's why you should be looking out for these things, because you can say, oh, gas is cheaper than electricity at the moment. So if it has a gas boiler right now, it's going to be cheaper. Whereas if it's an electrical system, then it's going to maybe cost a wee bit more money. So having a look at these things, the insulation and heating, will be able to allow you to determine how much money is going to need to be spent on the property in future, and also how much it's going to cost to run today. So those are the two key things I would suggest having a look at from the very start.
Brilliant. Well, that's great help. That's great help. And I want to touch on a few things because I know you're quite an active guy. You know, you get out there, you do quite a lot of things. And if you've ever met Adam, he's a lovely guy. He's a lovely guy. And I would have never envisioned this. And what we used to do on Mastermind was we all used to take turns on the day after our Mastermind sessions, basically just presenting ourselves and talking a bit about ourselves, what we've done in the past and things. And I never had a clue about any of this until he stood up here and said, you know, he was doing this UFC fighting and he was really good at it as well. So just share with the listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mark. Yeah, I'm very, very passionate about health and fitness. I've been involved in health and fitness since 5 years old, I would say, more than 20 years. So I started Taekwondo when I was 5 years old, as a wee primary one, like a wee child. Really enjoyed it. Done that for 10 years or so. So done Taekwondo 10 years. Got my black belt 2014. Did kickboxing for around 6 years. I wanted something a bit more competitive when I was in my teen years, so I started kickboxing. Went to a few Scottish championships. Won the Scottish championships in 2011. Was in the Scotland squad, the Scottish kickboxing squad, 2010, 2011. So went to a few world championships, which was really good. So yeah, I really enjoyed Taekwondo, kickboxing at quite a high level, and there was a lot of sort of discipline involved, a lot of black eyes and things like that. And then yeah, I just sort of continued. I love sort of sport and things, so Taekwondo, kickboxing. And then in the last few years after I went through all my studies, I got back into it. So I did Judo Kendo for a year, which is Bruce Lee's martial art. And then right now I do a wee bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I love martial arts, and although I'm not doing it competitively at the moment because I'm focusing on other things in life, I just think I would recommend keeping healthy and fit is a great thing for all of us. So I'll always sort of be involved in some sport or something. So yeah, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the moment, enjoying that, and I'm a keen sort of surfer. I go surfing quite regularly. I usually go abroad every year to do some surfing. I got into that during university. I do a variety of fitness classes each week. Try keep it balanced. So I work on different areas of health, flexibility, cardio, and things like that. I've just started dancing as well. So yeah, I just love doing a wee bit of everything, I guess. I think being healthy and being fit just has so many benefits. It helps keeps us focused. It obviously looks after our body, helps our mind. So I'm always encouraging my friends and family to sort of get involved in an activity that they want to try.
That's good. Forgive my ignorance as well. UFC fighting, kickboxing, it's all just scrapping to me at the end of the day. But it's done in a specialist way. Obviously, I can appreciate that. But no, it's very impressive what you do and what you're up to. And you recently had you did scuba diving training, didn't you? Didn't you get yourself educated in that and up to a level?
Yeah, no, I almost forgot about that. Yeah, so my I would say my four key sports are martial arts, surfing, scuba diving, and like various fitness classes like yoga and things like that. I don't really count the gym because the gym just helps everything. The gym's just sort of helping you to do various activities. But yeah, in the start of 2022, I did a scuba diving course in the Red Sea, which was absolutely beautiful. And it was like an intense week course. And just, it was like an introduction in to the world of scuba diving. And it just allowed me to get the skills that I needed, the skills and knowledge that I needed to be able to scuba dive anywhere in the world. Now that I've got that as a foundation, I can go to any destination in the world and scuba dive. So whenever I choose a holiday, whenever I want to go anywhere in the world, I always look for a place that has water, the sea, because I know I can scuba dive there. So it's just a passion that I've always loved the sea, and I'm sure all of us, we all love the sea. We all love the ocean because we feel at home near the water. And for me, I wanted to immerse myself in that experience by going underwater and exploring a new world. So I just thought doing a scuba diving qualification would be a challenge. That it was mainly for the challenge because it's quite scary. It was very scary when I was doing it, and it was my first time really giving it a go. So it was a real challenge on the mind and the body, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do it. So I got that. I ticked that off the list, and I got myself to a reasonable level of competency. And now I can just sort of go anywhere and sort of get in the water. So it was kind of a good experience. I recommend it to anyone.
That's great. That's great. And of course, we're often talking about people that have started, property businesses in the sense of building up portfolios, building up rent-to-rent businesses and all that sort of thing. You've gone the other way with that. You've started a business, don't get me wrong, but you've started a business in property, but it doesn't actually involve you at the moment. Of course, I know you're looking at changing that and you're building it up all the time. At the moment, it doesn't actually involve, owning any assets, owning it, but you've got a business there, which also now is a sustainable business, for want of a better word, and also helps you to go out and do the things you want to do in life. So, I take my hat off to you because obviously I knew you through 2019 onwards. We hit COVID and stuff, and that sort of stopped everybody in their tracks and things. But you've still managed to build a business up. You've still managed to get clients. You've still managed to get yourself out there, and it's just through taking action that's got you where you are. So, I always commend everybody that does that because it's not you see a lot of people that don't start these things that don't want to fail, but I think at the end of the day failure you only fail if you stop. So as long as you keep moving forward and you keep trying new things and you keep reinventing, so to speak, you don't have to reinvent everything, but just look at how you can make things better and how you can move yourself forward. And I mean, how is the business growth for you, and what do you foresee the future of your business?
Yeah, no, thanks, Mark. Yeah, like I just sort of wanted to start something I actually enjoyed and I was actually interested in. I wanted, like I said before, I wanted to take my own path. And I knew because it's the decision that I wanted to take, I would give it 100%, not 50%, not half, nothing half. I just wanted to give it my all because it was something I was actually interested in. So that's why I chose to go through. And yeah, I'm really embracing the experience. I'm embracing all the challenges. I'm embracing all the opportunities. I'm just using every experience as an opportunity to learn and grow. And I was very prepared in the beginning to expect all the successes and all the failures. And I was expecting that. And whenever they come along, the successes or failures, I'm ready. I'm ready to experience that because that's the only way we're gonna learn and we're gonna kind of grow. So yeah, the business is going exactly how I envisioned, and I'm still looking to push it forward. And I'm just enjoying every moment. I guess whether it's life or whether it's a business, it's not really a destination. It's more of a journey, and I'm sure we've all heard of that before. And I'm just enjoying the journey. I'm enjoying learning about things and experience things. And I enjoy working with other people, and I enjoy sort of growing and learning lessons and things. So it's going exactly how I envisioned it. And sure, there's going to be some challenges along the way, but those are opportunities to learn. So I'm just ready for anything that comes my way. As long as you're consistent and you know what you kind of want to do, you just keep pushing forward. When something doesn't go the way you were expecting it to go, then that's no problem. Just learn from it and just keep pushing forward. So it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter what stage of life you're at or what you're up to, just keep on pushing forward and just learn from every experience that goes your way. And if you're passionate about doing something, then give it a try. If it doesn't work, then it's not the end of the world. At least you've given it a try. And that's kind of just what I've done. I gave something a try that I wanted to do, and I'm just enjoying it along the way and embracing the successes and embracing the challenges, and just wanted to keep on moving forward.
Yeah, no, well, it's mindset. I mean, you and me talk a lot about mindset, and obviously, you've got to keep a positive mindset. Challenges and problems are life at the end of the day. And, there's a lot of famous people that say the more challenges and the more problems that you have, the more successful you'll be. Because at the end of the day, if you keep yourself in your own comfort zone, so you don't have challenges and you don't have problems, then you're not growing. You're not pushing yourself out of your own limits. You're staying in a little comfort zone, and you're never going to really move forward on that. And I know that for years when I stayed in my own corporate job and stuff, in my own little bubble, I was safe there. And it wasn't until I, said, I'm going to go for it and see what happens and really put yourself on the block that you could fail at any moment. But like I say, you only fail if you stop. If you keep going, you just face challenges. You learn from the challenges and try not to make the same ones again. So, what I like to do now is a bit of a quick fire round, if you don't mind. And really, I'm just going to ask you a few questions of things that I'm interested in. I'm sure the listeners, I hope the listeners like it anyway, but I do, if nothing else. So what's the best advice you've ever had, or what's the advice you've had recently?
Yeah, well, that's a really good one, actually. So this is something I remind myself of all the time. And it's really helped to transform how I see things. And the advice is, what's in the past is in the past. What we've done in the past, whether it's personal, whether it's business, there's nothing we can do about it except from learn from it. So there's always lessons there, but we can't control it. What's in the future is in the future. We have no guarantee what's going to happen in business and life. So we can't control that either. But what we can control is today. We can control the actions we take today, whether it's in our personal life, whether it's in our business life. That's what we have control over. So that's what I choose to focus on. I choose the actions I take today, the conversations I have, the actions I take, because that's truly where I can make a difference. And the actions we take today will impact our future tomorrow. So forget about yesterday and forget about tomorrow and focus on today. That's something that I remind myself quite regularly.
That's no, brilliant. That is brilliant, and it is so true. I think as long as you've got a vision and a plan and a goal, then you really want to be focusing on what's right in front of you, like you say, which is today, so that you're taking those actions to help you get and reach those goals in the long run. So no, that's a really good piece of advice. I thought you'd have a good one. You got any more? Because you might have some more. I know you.
Maybe another time, but that's my top bit of advice for today.
Top one now. All right, I put you on the spot there.
And let's say we made a mistake yesterday. Maybe we had a business meeting, or maybe we had like any other meeting and it never went to plan. Yeah, just learn from it, but just forget about it. There's nothing you can do about it now. And as I said before, we might have a business meeting tomorrow, and we're anticipating something might happen, something might not go to plan. But you don't know that for certain, do you? So just forget about it and wait until the moment comes. But what we do have is right now, and we're having a meeting right now, so we can give our full attention and our full energy to the meeting we're having now. But just these sort of things just help kind of, I think, just makes things a wee bit more simpler, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I try and do that. It's being present in the moment at the end of the day, and I try and do that massively, particularly with my family and with my children. I want them to know that Dad's there. Dad is there. But if they grow up to me and say, you were with me, but you were never really with me, and that's how I used to be. My mind was always somewhere else. So I try and make damn sure now that, phones, electrical devices aren't around me. If I'm talking to the kids or I'm talking to my wife or anything like that, I'm talking to them. I'm not trying to do two things at once. And if I am trying to do two things at once, I feel a bit guilty. And I normally just say, just give me 2 seconds. Let me finish this one thing at a time. And then they know that I've done what I needed to do, cut that off. And I'm now going to go and spend my time with them. So that's great. That's great. So if you could sit down with 3 people that are alive, who would you like to sit down with and have a chat? They could be famous. They could be anybody you want.
Ooh, that's a very good question, Mark. I would say I'm quite interested in sort of, I would say like the type of people I would like to chat to would be people from the past. No one really present today that living today. So I'm really interested in sort of the big questions. I'm really interested in the big questions in life, and people I would like to talk to would be people like Albert Einstein, because he had a great mind. He was one of the greatest minds in human history. And Nikola Tesla, he was a very famous inventor, one of the most famous inventors in human history. Elon Musk's company, Tesla, is named after him, Nikola Tesla. So I would want to sit around a table with Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, and people in that sort of generation, because they were great minds and they had so much to offer. And I feel they were ahead of their time in those days. They were very isolated people because people did not know how to sort of understand them or work with them or cooperate with them. And I'm just really drawn to that great minds and not afraid to ask questions and always looking to seek answers in life, and just big-minded, very, very, very open-minded individuals. And I'm just kind of drawn to that sort of that energy. I love energy in general, and Albert Einstein and these sort of inventors and people really kind of inspire me. So I would love to sort of sit around a table and just talk about and learn from them and just talk about important things in life and big questions. So those are the type of people who inspire me, and I would love to have a conversation with them. So it would be people
you got one more. You got one more seat. You got one more empty seat.
Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, and there's a guy called Andrew Carnegie. He's a Scottish businessman, but he was a very successful person in many areas of life, and I think what he managed to achieve during his time was incredible. And he's obviously from Scotland as well. So all these people have something in common. They're all from the past. They're all great minds. I love sort of engaging and having meaningful conversations. And I think if I was sitting on a table with these 3 guys, the conversation and the learnings would be incredible. So it's not, these 3 would be my top selections, but there's many people who lived in the same era who I would love to have a conversation with. But those were the first 3 that popped up into my head, and people from the past with open minds and just looking to sort of share knowledge and just explore life a wee bit more.
No, nice. I mean, most people think that Elon Musk came up with Tesla. He didn't. He was just a big finance broker who financed Tesla and everything. The concept was, as you say, done by somebody else. So what are your top 3 podcasts?
So obviously the Property Unleashed podcast, that's obviously going to be up there. Another podcast. So that's it's actually quite an interesting question, because some people prefer visual and some people prefer audio, and I'm quite a visual person. So I've not always been into podcasts that much over the years. I've always preferred to sort of look at something. But when over the years, I have gotten into them since like over lockdown, because it's quite good when you're going for a walk. You can listen to them, so you can learn something and you can go outside at the same time. So I started to listen to the Property Unleashed podcast over the last few years, which has been really good. And just generally, I'm quite open. If someone were to recommend something to me, I would give it a try. So I would say there's many good podcasts out there, and I think a good recommendation always helps, because someone recommends something, it's always worth giving it a try, and then you'll pick up something new. And if you really like it, you'll be stuck to it, and you'll continue. But if not, then you can move on to something else. So I think I don't really have lots of different favorite ones. I like trying. I like exploring a little bit. And I think the key with finding a good podcast is word of mouth.
I'll do that as long as you're listening to mine. At least I've got one listener. Come on. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Moving on. Moving on. This one, you'll be all right with this one. So, what's your sort of top 3 books, or what books do you really think offer a lot of value to people?
All right, that's a good one. So I actually just finished a book recently, which I really enjoyed, and it's called Factfulness, and it was actually reviewed. It was actually reviewed by Bill Gates. Bill Gates actually read it and gave it a really, really good review. And as soon as that happened, I'm sure Barack Obama had read it as well. And these really key influential people, after giving the book such a good review, lots of people wanted to read it. And so it was recommended to me a few months ago, and I actually gave it a read. And the reason I liked it was because it offers a different outlook on the world today, and it gives you a lot of positive information, a lot of positive things that are happening around the world. Because often we're told that things aren't really going very well in the world at the moment. But Factfulness is a really, really good book, and it just shows you all the positive things happening in the world. And so that would probably be one of my favorite books I've read recently. Another one, there's been so many. It's hard to choose. Yeah, it's hard to choose. That was just one of the most recent ones I've read. I'll give you one more because it's really hard to choose. The other book I really enjoyed was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and it's written by a guy called Robin Sharma, I believe. And it is a really, really good book. It's basically describing a successful lawyer in the US, and he is very successful. He's making a lot of money, but he's burning himself out. He's 100 miles per hour, and it just sort of tells his story of his search of something different. He travels to the east and finds he meets various monks, which teaches him another way to live your life and teaches you some very important principles which we can use today, such as self-development, such as taking your time, discipline, and things like that. So it's actually really, I think the book, it's not it's written as like a fable, as a story, but it's actually giving you a lot of valuable lessons in today's life. So it might sound like it's not a novel. It's written by Robin Sharma, who's a very successful entrepreneur, very successful businessman, and he writes various books on business and things like that. So it's written by a very established author, and he tells a story of a man who's burning himself out and chooses to adopt a different way of living, which benefits himself. And I got a lot from that book. It's really helped to transform my outlook on some things. So those are the two that I really enjoyed over the last year or so. And it's really hard to choose. There's so many good books out there. I couldn't choose another one, but those are the top two that I'm giving you.
I want three. Come on, one more you've read, and you just thought you don't have to give us a description of it. You could just say, "I've read that one. That's a good one."
Right. So Factfulness, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and there's been loads of good books.
Just pick one. You might pick something I've never heard of. He's got him thinking.
Yeah. No, my mind's went blank. Those two are good. I'm sure those two will be good enough because they're good books.
All right, fair enough. Brilliant. Well, thank you for that. Thank you very much. And also, thank you for joining me here today. It's been great to have you on. And as I say to people when I do want them back, it'd be great to have you on again in the future, see how you're growing, see how things are going. And obviously, we can talk a bit more about sustainable energy and how people can do cost savings to help the planet and also help the environment, of course, and save themselves a few quid. But is there anything you'd like to say before we wrap this up, my friend?
just wanted to thank you very much for inviting me today. I always enjoy our chats. We chat quite regularly on the phone. I always enjoy bouncing ideas off one another. It's always a pleasure to have another conversation with you. And thank you for inviting me along today. I look forward to catching up soon and working together in future.
Yeah, no, it's a real pleasure, mate. Always a pleasure to chat, as you say. It's always good. It's always good. So thank you for coming on. And I hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode or watching it, depending on what you're doing. If you have and you fancy leaving a 5-star review, then please do. If you've listened to this and not enjoyed it, don't leave a review. But until next time, you'll take care and bye for now.